Good morning. I just wanted to show you a little May garden tour. This we're going to start in the very backyard, and against my garage side we do have 3 Proven Winners hydrangeas, which have done beautifully every single year, and in between them we actually have some fruit trees. So one here I want to show you, try to get my shadow out, is this little guy. This is actually a seedling. It is a pear, Asian pear seedling, and it has done extremely well. So I'm just going to grow it on, prune it, and kind of partly espalier it. And hopefully in a few years we will have some flowers and fruit to showcase. Beside it I have a Belcorf apple tree. I actually found this one on clearance, and I wasn't too sure if it would do okay, but I've pruned it and it's done exceptionally well. So much so we actually had flowers, and if you can see, we have some fruit. So there are quite a few apples coming on the tree. Now this particular apple tree supposedly has the taste of star anise, so if you like licorice, this might be the apple for you. Now beside here I do have another Asian pear tree in a pot. These all came from Asian pears that we had at the supermarket that we loved, and I have 6 more in the front yard. Now in these little pots I do have raspberries. I actually planted and purchased 2 of the raspberry shortcake, and to my surprise, when I planted them in the ground they produced a whole bunch of offshoots. I do think I actually have probably about 60 of these little babies, and so we're going to have a raspberry farm shortly. Now this tree here that you can see, it is in a pot. This is my Red Haven peach. I picked it up because it was a very good price at Costco, and Red Haven is supposedly a very sweet, delicious peach that a lot of people use for canning and of course fresh eating, and it is a freestone. So I'm pretty excited about this tree. We do love peaches and nectarines and all that, and we have some peaches that we've grown from seed that I'll showcase a little bit later, and they've done really well too, so I'm hoping it's happy in its new home. Down here is a pink champagne currant. I chose the pink champagne because it's not quite as tart as the red, and it is quite sweet, and they do say it's the sweetest of all currants. And if I could zoom in here, you can kind of see some of those currants are coming out. So hopefully here by the end of June I will be able to showcase some beautiful pink currants. The nice thing with these is that they're hardy to zone 3. It's really wonderful if you live in an apartment and you get sun exposure. Easily you can grow currants, and of course if you don't have a ton of space to grow in the landscape, you can put it in pots and move it around. Behind it I have all of my garlic. In the very back you'll see some very large garlic, that's elephant garlic, and then I just have regular garlics in front that I can harvest this year. The elephant garlic won't be harvested until next year. Now this side here, when we spin around, this is my very first tree I planted, and it is a Shiro plum. So I'm just going to backtrack a little bit and show you. This tree right here is a Asian pear tree, and it did have a lot of blooms, but unfortunately none of the blooms seem to be pollinated, and so it doesn't look like we're going to have any fruit this year, but certainly hoping for next year. Beside it, this is one of my sour cherries. I believe this one is the Valentine. So as you can see, it has actually a really beautiful weepy kind of frame. It's a really gorgeous tree, so even if you weren't going to get it for the fruit part, it's a beautiful specimen tree slash bush. So certainly hoping we can try some fruit next year. It doesn't look like it had any flowers, so the wait continues. Now, if you guys know anything about sea berries, you do require one male to pollinate your females. This is our female, so I do think it's good for northerners, especially if you want to have something that will give you your vitamin C content. Aside from having citrus, this might be an excellent one, and it also is a nitrogen fixer, so it's really great to have, especially in bad soil. Now, down here, that little bush is actually a blackberry. This one is called the Columbia Giant, and we had one fruit last year, and it was the best blackberry I've ever had in my life. So I am beyond excited to have more of those this year. Now, this is a look at yet one of our other sour cherries. I believe this one, let's see if I grab. So this one here is the Cupid. Now, it's put on, pretty decent growth. Not quite as good as the Valentine, but it did have a lot of flowers. However, I don't think any of them got pollinated. We won't have any sour cherries till maybe next year, but happy to have them anyway in the landscape. And then of course, down below we've always got chives growing everywhere, on top of having lemon balm, some more garlics. And this side here, which is down beside our fence, we have put in quite a few plants. So I'm going to start with this one. This is actually a European pear seedling. I have quite a few of them, and they've all done very well. It is beside my other pear tree, which is Clap's favorite. Now, this is supposedly an extremely good pear, but it had no flowers this year. I do have 2 European pears. I had the hope that they would pollinate each other, but because Clap's favorite didn't have any flowers, I assumed that my moon glow would have no pears. But to my surprise, you will see a little pear there. We got 2 of them, and then up above, I actually have another one coming in. It's hard to see. I can't even find it myself. Where is it? Well, there's at least another 2 or 3 more. You can see a couple there. One there. Here it is. It's down here. So, you might be asking, how did it get pollinated if my Clap's favorite had no flowers? I think it is because of my Asian pear tree. Right there. It was loaded with flowers, and I did a little Google search, and it seems like Asian pears can pollinate European pears. So I will say it's very good news for me. Now, down below, I do have some more raspberries that I've put in the ground, and I am starting to rethink this because they proliferate so easily. And I do not want a backyard full of raspberries. Granted, they are thornless, so I don't hate that, but I also don't want it overrun. So here's a look at one of my apple seedlings. I have been growing them up and training them along this string, so kind of like a step over espalier. So I'll have some pruning to do, but so far I've got my 2 branches that'll go along the string, and we'll see how this little experiment goes. So moving along, we have yet another apple. This one here, to my surprise, actually has apples growing. This particular apple, I do believe, is the Orin, which is an apple I had last year at the UBC Apple Festival, and it was pretty delicious. Okay, so we're going to move forward to to this one here is the Worcester Pearman apple. Beside it, we do have some extra blueberries that I have outside of my berry cage. And they've got lots of little fruit and berries coming in, which is awesome. Beside it is yet another pear seedling, also doing good. Another blueberry. And then here to finish off some of my apples here along the fence line. This one here is the hidden rose. Let me show you here. Now, this particular tree actually produces apples with a pink flesh, and it seems like it's good for fresh eating and baking, so I'm very hopeful I get to try those next year. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys inside my berry cage. Okay, so I'm not actually going to walk in because, as you can see, it's pretty overrun with very happy fruit bushes. So I have a slight dilemma in that in this corner here I have my raspberry shortcake, which I originally thought would be a compact bush of 3 feet by 3 feet, and technically it is, but it puts out so many little baby runners. You can see them all down here, all here in the entrance, all the way down the side. And of course, I, not realizing when I first planted another one right there, and so it also has a lot of baby shoots, which are overtaking my hascap berries, which are here in the corner, and all of my blueberries that are back here. So I have to dig up quite a few of them as we go through the springtime and pot them into pots, and then I'll place them around the front and backyard. So we will get lots of raspberries, but you definitely want to be careful if you purchase the raspberry shortcake and not to do what I do and plant it out thinking it will not spread, because it will spread. And so if you want lots of raspberries, that's a great way to do it. Just pop one in the landscape or in a raised bed where you can have them take over the entire bed, and it will produce so much fruit for you. Alright, so moving on, I'm going to show you one of my peach seedlings. This guy here is not quite 2 years old, and it has done exceedingly well in a pot outside in our cold temperatures, and I've recently put it into the ground. So if you eat a peach or nectarine or donut peach or anything that you really loved, it is so easy to crack that seed open, put the little seed inside into some soil, and just let it grow. It'll be very happy, and we'll show you the progress as the years go on, and I'll let you know when we get our first fruit. Now, looking to this side, we do have some teepees up where I'm hopefully going to be growing some peas, but the sad news is that all of them either have been dug up or the tops eaten by my little families of raccoons and rats. And so quite a few of the things I have planted have already been demolished by these critters. So we'll see if we get anything this year. But to the back, I'm actually, if any of you guys know what this plant is, this is real wasabi. And it does grow really well here. It's not in any real protected area. It gets a lot of shade and of course morning sun. And I'm thinking I might be able to harvest it this year or next year. Now back here, sorry to have my shadow in there, I do have an avocado in a pot. I've got a second avocado. I've been growing these inside the house and recently brought them out probably about a month too early, so they're not looking quite as good as they were inside the house. But I do plan on planting them outside, and again, just seeing how they do through the course of like spring, summer, and fall, having hopefully 3 seasons to get established with their roots before winter. And we're just going to keep trying and experimenting, because why not? I could easily say they don't grow here and that would be fine, but a big part of me is also wanting to experiment and always push the boundaries to see what I can accomplish back here in the garden. And because they just come from seed, I don't feel terribly if I lose 1 or 2. They would have gone composted anyway. I do have potatoes coming in. I thought this year I would grow them in grow bags to see how the yield is. And this tree is some of my most favorite and cherished. This is a persimmon. This particular one is the Seijo persimmon, and so it is an astringent variety. We haven't had any flowers or fruit as of yet, but I'm very hopeful that this will be the year. Last year, I was able, if you can kind of see here, this tree is also a persimmon, and this one is a Fuyu variety. It's called the Early Jiro, and this one was delicious. So I'm very hopeful I'll be able to try that again this year. And then of course we do have our beautiful peonies coming in. I have a lot of peonies. As you can see here, there's lots of gorgeous blooms. So given another week or so, we'll have a beautiful flush of flowers. So in our south-facing part of the yard, see if it's hard to see, I did plant an olive tree. So this guy hopefully will get enough heat and enough dryness that he's happy to grow on here. This is yet another one of our apples. This one here I was really excited about. Don't know if the tag, no. So this one here I believe is called World's Number One. It is a Japanese variety. When I tried it, it was the best tasting apple I've ever had, and it was massive. I don't see necessarily, we might have 2 or 3 apples coming in, so we'll just wait and see about that. But here now, these are 2 of our columnar apple trees, and these guys have done exceptionally well. You can see there's still a lot of flowers and actually a lot of fruit set. This one is so unbelievably prolific. You can see a little apple down here. Where is he? And beside this one here is also extremely prolific. We have lots of apples. It's so hard to see, it's so bright outside. But this one is absolutely loaded with gorgeous fruit set. In this part here, I do have a bunch of red, white, and green onions, all doing really good, popping up. Excited for that harvest. This is my favorite part of the garden right now because my favorite flower is the peony, and as you can see, my peonies are ready to burst open, so I can hardly wait to show you guys the beauty of these peony bushes. My favorite thing in the world is to grow my own flowers, especially peonies because they can be so expensive. And then this one here just popped up on its own accord. I think it's a columbine. But boy, it just is so beautiful. And technically is a weed because I didn't plant it. And it's one of the most beautiful weeds I have. Just look at that. Oh, so pretty. Just a gorgeous gorgeous flower. I'm very glad you guys could join me today for a little walk around, and I will see you guys again really soon. Have a wonderful day.